to do, how to adapt to this new framework. And let's now look at this, how you can use this insight to combat road congestion. This is a map of Stockholm, my hometown. Now, Stockholm is a medium-sized city, roughly 2 million people, but Stockholm also has lots of water, and lots of water mean lots of bridges, narrow bridges, old bridges, which means lots of road congestion. And these red dots show the most congested parts, which are the bridges that lead into the inner city. And then someone came up with the idea that apart from good public transport, apart from spending money on roads, let's try to charge drivers 1 or 2 euros at these bottlenecks. Now, 1 or 2 euros, that isn't really a lot of money, I mean, compared to parking charges and running costs, etc. So you would probably expect that car drivers wouldn't really react to this fairly small charge. You would be wrong. 1 or 2 euros was enough to make 20% of cars disappear from rush hours. Now, 20%, well, that's a fairly huge figure, you might think, but you still got 80% left of the problem, right? Because you still have 80% of traffic. Now, that's also wrong, because traffic happens to be a non-linear phenomenon, meaning that once you reach above a certain capacity threshold, then congestion starts to increase really, really rapidly. But fortunately, it also works the other way around. If you can reduce traffic even somewhat, then congestion will go down much faster than you might think. Now, congestion charges were introduced in Stockholm on January 3rd, 2006. And the first picture here is a picture of Stockholm, one of the typical streets, January 2nd. The first day with the congestion charges looked like this. This is what happens when you take away 20% of the cars from the streets. You really reduce congestion quite substantially. But, well, as I said, I mean, car drivers adapt, right? So after a while, they would all come back because they sort of gotten used to the charges. Wrong again. It's now 6.5 years ago since the congestion charges were introduced in Stockholm, and we basically have the same low traffic levels still. But you see, there's an interesting gap here in the time series in 2007. Well, the thing is that the congestion charges, they were introduced first as a trial. So they were introduced in January and then abolished again at the end of July, followed by a referendum, and then they were reintroduced again in 2007, which of course was a wonderful scientific opportunity. I mean, this was a really fun experiment to start with, and we actually got to do it twice. And personally, I'd like to do this every once a year or so, but they wouldn't let me do that. So, but it was fun anyway. So we followed up. What happened? This is the last day with the congestion charges, July 31st. And you see the same street, but now it's summer. In summer in Stockholm, it's a very nice and light time of the year. And the first day without the congestion charges looked like this. All the cars were back again. And you even have to admire the car drivers. They adapt so extremely quickly. The first day, they all came back. And this effect hanged on. So 2007 figures looked like this.